All right, so I'm gonna go over the gear suggested and required to fish in kayak catfishing tournaments. I am Kayak Mike. I am your, I guess, El Presidente of the group. There's a lot of people who help run it. Dan Shada, Clint Seeger, Ryan Boards, Anthony Shane-Walt. Like, there's countless individuals that run it. But I guess I am technically the face. I set up all the tournaments, etc., which I've actually been slacking on. I need to finish out making the rest of the year's tournaments. But this video will be dedicated to the things that you need and the things that are suggested to participate in our tournaments. First thing you need is a Fishing Chaos app login. So you need your information there. Create a profile. That's where you'll register for the tournaments. I'll either put an iCard or I will link the playlist on how to register for a tournament, how to submit a fish. The great thing about Fishing Chaos is everything is PC to app identical. I don't know what the exact word is, but anything I show you on the PC in a tutorial is directly, you can use that information directly via your phone. It's the same exact aesthetics. So if I tell you to click here on the PC, it's the same exact click on the phone for submitting a fish, entering a tournament, finding a tournament, etc. So if you need to figure out how to do all that stuff on the app, go to the playlist in the link in the description. As far as gear that you need, first thing you absolutely need is a bumper board. I prefer, and all the judges prefer, you use a musky bumper. That musky bumper board is right, let me not step on my phone, it's right here. This is what a musky bumper looks like. Mine is disgusting because I don't take care of it, but it's a 60-inch board. They're willing to work with you. They'll cut it essentially in where you want. They customize boards, no problem. I wish the fence was a little higher, the front fence. I wish that was just a little higher. But other than that, this is the best board out there for kayak catfishing tournaments. If anyone tells you anything different, they are lying. There's a good chance they have their hands or they are in bed with other competing company boards. I will never lie, no matter who is the sponsor. I don't care. This is the best product out there for measuring a catfish, period. I'm going to go over the other legal options, but this is the one I strongly encourage you to get. I have measured over 1,000 fish on this at least. By now, I use it as my personal cutting board. I abuse the living heck out of this board, and it is still surviving. It's made out of wood. It floats. The only thing you have to add to it is 1/2-inch aluminum channel to lock it out, but once you do that, it's good to go. Your other legal boards are any catch board and your Rapala Magnum 60-inch board. The Rapala has to be DIY'd. You have to put a locking mechanism on it because it folds up in 3 different spots. And if you're going to be in the slot tournament, you have to mount it to a piece of wood 2 inches both directions. A fish in a slot tournament needs to be measured on a Rapala board that is mounted on a piece of wood 2 inches wider both directions. Reason being, fish fall over. The fish will fall over the board and you can theoretically shrink a fish and not even be able to see the other part of the tail. So those are the only 3 boards that are legal. Any musky bumper, any catch product, and the Rapala Magnum 60 inches. The reason we make the Rapala legal is because it is a cheap alternative. The catch is going to run you close to 100. Another problem with the catch, one, it's like an anchor. You could literally kill somebody with the catch. If it falls overboard and it's not properly secured, it is gone. It's going to sink like a rock. It's made of metal, and it's really hard to stabilize a big fish. A lot of people I know that have used it on big fish, they say it's a struggle on a kayak to get it to sit on the board itself. There's not a single video out there of somebody front to back measuring a big fish successfully with no issues. There's issues measuring big fish on the musky bumper. I can't even imagine how frustrating it is to do it on a catch board. So, and it's only 48 inches. If you catch a 50-inch fish, you only get credit for 48 inches. The musky bumper is 60 inches. Some people have theirs custom made down to 55, but the catch is if you somehow catch a 56-inch fish, it will not count. well, the fish counts, but only the length of the board counts. You cannot manually extend your board, and that's just not a rule we're willing to bend either. So that is an item you need. And your phone needs to have your GPS and timestamp turned on. If your GPS and timestamp is not turned on and we cannot verify where you caught that fish, then your fish will get disqualified. So when you submit your fish, turn your GPS and timestamp on your photos. It's a setting within your phone. Also, give Fishing Chaos all the rights to everything in your phone. Pictures, sound, everything. It's a fishing tournament app. They're not selling your data anywhere. It's strictly so the judges can take it's called eSIF data and make sure you caught the fish within a correct time frame and on a body of water that is legal. But yeah, those are really the only things you need as far as gear. Everything else is optional. Strongly suggest a good pair of fish grips. A lot of anglers will leave the fish either hooked or in fish grips, or hooked and in fish grips while they're taking the picture. I've had fish flop off the board into the water, and if I didn't leave them hooked and or in the fish grips, they're gone. What else? Optional things that are super useful. Cast nets for bait. We're catfishing out here. Oh, mandatory slot tournament fish that are perfect scores, 31.75 inches. You have to send me or another judge a video of the fish bumped and at its maximum length, and you got to prove by sliding the tail up and down that that fish cannot break 32 inches. That is mandatory on perfect score fish in slot tournaments. Whatever the slot number is, you gotta prove on video it is a perfect score. If you submit a perfect score fish and we ask for the video evidence and you do not have any, no ifs, ands, or buts, that fish is DQ'd, period. Don't care who you are. Also, identifier. Every tournament will have an identifier. That identifier will be a mix of numbers and letters, and it has to be in the picture when you submit the fish. Optional net. I use a net. I love using a net. I have not cost myself a single fish because of the net yet. I have lost one fish at the kayak while trying to net it. Before I started using a net, 40 fish I lost at the kayak, minimum, and that's a conservative number. Because we're in kayaks. Don't forget, we are in kayaks. The hook set is not always the best, especially on the smaller fish. And especially if you're using circle hooks. So if you get them to the kayak, there's a chance they might pop off. Now, there are some anglers who never use a net, and they have no issues with not using a net. They might not experience as many hook set failures as other people do, but my suggestion would be have a net, especially for the small fish. Bigger fish tend to hook themselves a lot better. The smaller fish, man, and getting your hand in their mouth sometimes and pain in the tail. So it never hurts to have a net for the smaller fish. What else? I'm trying to think here. Paddle. If you're using a motor, always have a backup paddle. And yeah, that's all I can really think of. At the end of this video, I'm going to plug our sponsors and our pro staff guys. Sandy Drifters, sandydrifters.com. Use code Kayak15. That directly supports the scene if you need dragging weights. What else? Kayak Catfishing Tournaments.com. You can get yourself gear, swag, gear. Use code Kayak20 at catfishclothing.com. That directly supports me and a few other anglers. And yeah. And throw Phytech cast nets because I'm technically on their pro staff. But those are some of the things that you absolutely need. And I'm just going to run back through them really quick. You need your musky bumper or your measuring board. Must be a legal one. The legal ones are in the rules. All your fish must be accompanied by an identifier. And technically, those are the only two things you really need to submit a fish: is it, measure it, and the identifier. Make sure your phone is turned on to GPS, time settings, etc., and you should be good to go. Kayak Mike out of here, and thank you everyone who supports kayak catfishing tournaments.